For the first time in over 50 years, we are about to send humans back to the moon's neighborhood. The Artemis II mission, it's this massive test flight, an absolutely crucial step before we try to land again. But this isn't just a simple trip, there and back. It's about pulling off this incredibly complex, high-stakes checklist where every single item, every little box has to be ticked off perfectly. So let's break down exactly what that looks like.
So what does 100% success actually mean for a mission this huge? It's not just one big moment of celebration. It's a whole series of critical stages, and each one has its own definition of perfection. And really, answering that question is what this whole explainer is all about. So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through this whole mission from start to finish. We'll start with the fiery launch from Earth, then we'll cover that long journey out to the moon, the absolutely critical flyby, then the most dangerous part, the return, and finally, what that last ultimate proof of success really is.
Okay, let's start with the big picture here. Success for Artemis II isn't just one thing, like a safe splashdown. No, it's the flawless execution of a long, long sequence of events, where if even one thing goes wrong, it could put everything that comes after it in jeopardy.
You can really break the whole thing down into these 5 major phases, and honestly, each one is like a whole mission in itself. You go from the pure brute force of the launch to the super delicate precision of the return, and every single step has to build perfectly on the last one. It's like a chain where every single link has to be absolutely unbreakable.
So, the mission success checklist? It actually begins way before the engines even ignite. This first leg of the journey, just getting away from Earth, is a massive battle against gravity, and it demands absolute perfection right from the get-go.
Now look at this. The wild thing is just how many things have to be perfect before the countdown even hits 0. Every single sensor, every line of software code, the crew suits, the cabin pressure, even the weather, everything has to be a go. A single no-go on a critical system at this stage, and the whole thing is off.
And once those engines light up, it is all about control. We're talking about a perfectly managed explosion. The stage separations have to be timed to the millisecond. And all this is happening while making sure the G-forces and vibrations inside that capsule are something the crew can actually survive. This isn't just a one-off launch. They're proving this rocket is reliable enough for future missions, the ones that are going to carry a lander. Any mistake here, it's an immediate abort.
Okay, so they've survived the climb to orbit. Now the Orion spacecraft faces its first big test, all on its own. It has to separate cleanly from the rocket, unfold its solar arrays to start making its own power, and get itself stable. This is a huge checkpoint. Orion has to prove it can be a reliable home, a lifeboat for the astronauts on those much longer missions to the moon. If there's a problem here, going any further is just not an option.
All right, so Earth is getting smaller in the rearview mirror. The crew is now starting that long 4-day coast out to the moon. This next phase might look quiet and peaceful from the outside, but trust me, it is deceptively complicated.
This is the moment, the point of no return. The Trans-Lunar Injection burn, or TLI, is this one single, powerful engine firing that basically slingshots Orion out of Earth's orbit and puts it on a laser-focused path right for the moon. The success of the entire rest of the trip hinges on this one burn being absolutely perfect.
The margin for error here is, well, it's pretty much 0. The trajectory has to be exact, the navigation has to be incredibly precise, and they have to use their fuel as efficiently as possible. A mistake during this burn doesn't just waste gas, it could cause them to miss the moon entirely and send the whole mission off course.
And this is a great way to see the 2 massive tests that are happening at the same time. On one side, you have the machine. The life support systems have to prove, without a doubt, that they can keep the crew alive for days in deep space. That's a vital test for Artemis III, right? When they'll actually need to live and work up there. And on the other side, you have the crew. They have to prove they can handle the isolation, the communication delays, and solving any problem that pops up when you're hundreds of thousands of miles from help.
Okay, now we're getting to the very heart of the mission, the whole reason they traveled all this way. This isn't just a halfway point, this is the main objective.
Now this is really important to remember. Artemis II is not a landing mission. The whole goal here is to perform what's called a free return trajectory. Basically, they fly past the far side of the moon and use its gravity like a giant cosmic slingshot to fling the Orion capsule right back home towards Earth. It's this beautiful, complex dance of orbital mechanics. Now, to pull this off, they have to hit this very specific invisible corridor in space.
They need to keep the perfect distance from the moon, catch that gravity assist at the exact right angle, and all the while, their new optical navigation systems have to work perfectly to confirm they're on the right path. Getting this turning point right doesn't just mean a safe trip home, it proves the tech is ready for the much more complex steps to come.
So, they've done it. They've swung around the moon. The main objective is complete. But believe it or not, the single most dangerous part of the entire mission is still ahead of them. Everything from here on out is about one thing and one thing only: survival.
Let's just be crystal clear about this. Coming back into Earth's atmosphere after a trip from the moon is unbelievably dangerous. That capsule is screaming back to Earth at incredible speeds, and statistically speaking, this is the phase with the absolute highest risk to the lives of the 4 astronauts inside.
I mean, just look at this timeline. This whole sequence is terrifyingly fast and incredibly violent. First, the capsule is completely surrounded by plasma, which cuts off all communication. Then, at peak heating, that heat shield has to withstand temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. Then a whole series of parachutes have to come out in perfect order to slow this thing down from thousands of miles an hour to a gentle splash in the ocean.
The source material really puts it bluntly, and it's worth saying again. Any small mistake during re-entry, the angle they come in at, the way the heat shield performs, instantly creates a life-or-death situation. The guidance systems have to be perfect, and they're flying blind during that communication blackout.
And even after they make it through that fiery plunge, success still isn't a sure thing. If that incredibly complex parachute system doesn't work exactly right, the mission ends in tragedy right there. It's just a brutal reminder that every single part has to work perfectly until the absolute very end. You just can't send astronauts to land on the moon until you are 100% sure you can get them through this final fiery trial.
Okay, deep breath. The capsule has splashed down, it's floating in the ocean, the mission is almost over. But the final, and really the most important, box on that whole success checklist still hasn't been ticked.
The final proof of success happens right here, on the water. A highly trained Navy team has to get to that capsule fast and secure it. Then, the crew has to be brought out safely. And the second they're out, they get immediate medical checks to see how they're doing after more than 10 days in space.
And this is it. This is the ultimate definition of 100% mission success. It's not the launch, it's not the lunar flyby, it's not even the splashdown. It is 4 astronauts, alive, stable, and safe on the deck of a recovery ship. That is the final undeniable proof that everything worked.
You see, when every single one of those boxes gets ticked, it does more than just bring 4 astronauts home. It validates the hardware, it validates the plans, and it validates the people for Artemis III, the actual lunar landing, and for all the missions that are supposed to come after. Building a base on the moon and maybe, just maybe, taking that next giant leap to Mars. So the question it leaves us with is, what new checklists we'll be writing next?